Well, because I take the kids to the art museum too, and then rather than just having them write something, it's nice if they could.
Yeah, especially since Diana gives them vocabulary, or you could give them vocabulary to complement that. And so they have vocabulary and they can practice using it.
Yeah, I just totally organically did this with the image of the Germania. We were talking about nationalism and Germania, and I've always done it where we did the visuals first, and then I teach some Kleist poetry, some Heine poetry, and of course Fallersleben. And I've been doing them always very separately. And because of WIMBA, in fact, it was just Wednesday, they posted where they had to compare the poetry to the images. I gave them 3 images, and it worked out. I haven't had a chance yet to do all my grading of it, but I think it's going to be the best assignment that the students actually, either written or oral, but the way it was combined, I was very pleased.
The intellectual content was high on
exactly.
this one. I really enjoyed listening to them.
Yep.
But as I mentioned, with the assignments became, I raised up the ante on the assignments, because at first I thought I would keep them just really talking to me, and then I realized that's not very interesting. So I wanted them to tell me something interesting about Marie de France or Rabelais or Montaigne.
Yeah, I also...
So I would write these pretty long assignments, and they would write them. I know that they wrote them out ahead of time. I could hear them turning pages. That's fine with me. It's basically just an oral form of a written assignment, except a little easier.
Yeah, I found when they did individual assignments, they were clearly more uncomfortable in front of technology alone when it was a monologue versus a dialogue. And so I've now, when I do it, there's always something debatable or something controversial so that the students can take a stand. And I will say, I don't allow them to have, as far as I know, they're not allowed to have anything written. I want it to be as authentic an experience of 2 people talking as possible.
In front of them.
Yeah.
So, where mine was more of a presentation.
Sure.
It would be like an expose.
Right.
Where they quote the source.
Sure.
It really is a very tight kind of assignment.
Sure.
That they have to be relying on the primary sources, because that was part of the point of the class.
Sure.
This is not about an upper level class, but it's somewhat of the same discussion. For a lower level class, my concern also was about the memorization, about the reading aspect. Mm-hmm. And when I listened to the students, I had told them they were not to read. But when I listened to them, I thought they were reading. And then when I made a comment in class to the effect that it's going to be hard for me to grade them on fluency, on smooth delivery and such, because it certainly sounded as if they were reading. And they said, no, we didn't read.
So, well, maybe mine didn't. I don't really know. I mean, all I know is what I hear. I didn't ever ask them.
Yeah, it's a tough question.
They probably had to have notes for the kind of things that they did, for sure. And they had to have the book ready with quotes ready to read.
But notes are, I think, to me, notes are very acceptable.
Yeah, I never did ask them if they did this. I don't really know what they did. Mm-hmm. I know they did it late at night. I can see what time they did it. It would be interesting to know how long they spent on each assignment, too. And I'm not sure that we have that capability with this technology.
Yeah. No, but it might be worth us having them log their own time. I mean, and sort of tracking that, just to know.
Well, and then the other aspect about the smoothness of delivery, where it almost sounds like reading, the fact that they can re-record, and if they are really motivated students, they want to do it perfectly. So I decided I had better give them the benefit of the doubt here.
Right. Well, and since we're grading them on grammar, they have an interest in being accurate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said for that, instead of just spontaneous and incorrect.
Yeah.
And then getting a lower grade as a result, which is demoralizing. The great thing about this is that the writing assignments in this class were difficult and graded rather strongly, and it was kind of demoralizing for them because they thought they could write. They hadn't had advanced composition and grammar. They only had 2 students who had this class that we now really recommend. They should have had it before they got to this class, but they hadn't. So this was more, it was less demoralizing than written. And to have it going back and forth was a really good thing. Because most of my students speak pretty well. But they needed work on their accents, so it was nice. Yeah.
I just have a comment about Linda. So I see that it's a very effective tool in assessing the students' pronunciation, but in terms of fluency, I agree that the students read and you can't really. It's like when you ask the students to present something in the class and then they bring their notes and you keep reading. You can't really assess their fluency because basically you're assessing just their ability to read from something. So I have a suggestion, I think if we use it inside the classroom, the way it's used in the TOEFL examination, for instance, like the students would bring their laptops or in a language lab and then give them 10 minutes, and then they record and do whatever. And then you can
the students who did a good job with Linda ended up more fluent. They spent so much time doing this and listening to themselves. I don't think it's a disconnect between the two, for me anyway. They felt more confident also, which is part of what fluency is, isn't it?
I think we have to bear in mind what the goal of WIMBA is, or that tool in particular. I think the goal of that tool in particular isn't spontaneity. It's about more practice, about being more exposure, which is why we don't want to use only that tool. It's an added tool. So if we're looking for spontaneous speech, then let's have a face-to-face interview. Let's do a oral presentation in class. So this is where I want to put the emphasis on, is that it's a wonderful tool. Yes, yet it is an added tool. So let's not confuse it that this is the one that we should use.
I would also add that this is the first iteration. In fact, what we're using is an older iteration of a technology that has already advanced leaps and bounds, and there are a number of language software applications already extant. Forgive the name, but there's one called Web Swami that is essentially, it's a little more robust, and we've piloted it with someone here at Notre Dame. It's a little more robust, more expensive, but it includes video. So that, in essence, would eliminate the issue, the ambiguity. Exactly. You would know, and you would be able to then circumscribe what this task is intended to.
But yet students can be very creative, because when I taught in Arizona, we were using the Ole board, which is a similar tool, and some students would actually put a Post-it right next to the webcam so that their eyes would not be down, but their eyes would be up. But you would see that the eyes would actually not move. So then you would understand. So again, this is an anecdote, but it means that you have to bear your goal. What is your goal? Is it more practice, or is it spontaneity? So. Well, thank you all very much for your attendance throughout the semester. Please help yourself. There's more food, classes, and beverages. Thank you.
Very interesting. We're going to